So this is part of Savitri's long reply, final reply to death. And she's speaking about man and about the spiritual experiences that human beings can have when they begin to turn towards spirituality. On line 650 it says, "At last he wakes into spiritual mind." And then she describes the experiences that come. So I'm going to read on from line 658. "But these are touches and high moments lived. Fragments of truth supreme have lit his soul. Reflections of the sun in waters still. A few have dared the last supreme ascent and break through borders of blinding light above and feel a breath around of mightier air, receive a vaster being's messages and bathe in its immense intuitive ray. On summit mind are radiant altitudes exposed to the luster of infinity, outskirts and dependencies of the house of truth, upraised estates of mind and measureless. There man can visit, but there he cannot live. A cosmic thought spreads out its vastitudes. Its smallest parts are here philosophies challenging with their detailed immensity, each figuring an omniscient scheme of things. But higher still can climb the ascending light. There are vasts of vision and eternal suns, oceans of an immortal luminousness, flame hills assaulting heaven with their peaks. Their dwelling all becomes a blaze of sight. A burning head of vision leads the mind. Thought trails behind it its long comet tail. The heart glows and illuminate and sear, and sense is kindled into identity. Our highest flight climbs to a deepest view. In a wide opening of its native skies, intuition's lightnings range in a bright pack, hunting all hidden truths out of their lairs. Its fiery edge of seeing absolute cleaves into locked, unknown retreats of self, rummages the sky recesses of the brain, lights up the occult chambers of the heart. Its spear point ictus of discovery, pressed on the cover of name, the screen of form, strips bare the secret soul of all that is. Thought there has revelation's sun-bright eyes. The word, a mighty and inspiring voice, enters truth's inmost cabin of privacy and tears away the veil from God and life. Then stretches the boundless finite's last expanse, the cosmic empire of the overmind, time's buffer state bordering eternity, too vast for the experience of man's soul. All here gathers beneath one golden sky. The powers that build the cosmos station take in its house of infinite possibility. Each god from there builds his own nature's world. Ideas are phalanxed like a group of suns, each marshalling his company of rays. Thought crowds in masses, seized by one regard. All time is one body, space a single look. There is the Godhead's universal gaze, and there the boundaries of immortal mind. The line that parts and joins the hemisphere closes in on the labor of the gods, fencing eternity from the toil of time. So yesterday in the Life Divine, we were reading about how if we go above spiritualized mind, there are 4 great steps leading to overmind and beyond. And here, in brief, he describes these 4 steps. You'll start, Rosa? Yeah.
But these are touches and high moments lived, fragments of truth supreme have lived his soul, reflections of the sun in waters still.
Yes. So he had given a brief description of what can be experienced when a human being wakes up into spiritual mind. Then he glimpses eternity, touches the infinite, meets the gods, feels the universe as his larger self. So, but these experiences, he now says, these are just touches. There may be high moments lived, no? fragments of the Supreme Truth have lit up the soul. And those fragments of Supreme Truth, they come in to the soul like reflections of the sun in still waters. If his soul is still and calm, then the reflections, fragments of the truth can come like reflections.
If you have the last supreme ascent and break through borders of bright light above and feel it and feel a breath around of mighty air, receive a vast being's messages and bath in its immense intuitive breath.
Yes. So an ascent is climbing up. So what he was speaking about, these stairs in the Life Divine, he calls this the ascent to supermind. So to go beyond the mind that's opening to spirituality, you have to break through borders, border lines. But those border lines express themselves as blinding light that is so bright and dazzling that you can't see through it, like looking at the sun. But if you can break through those borders of blinding light above, you can feel a much more, a stronger breath, a breath of mightier air, a more powerful atmosphere. And then you can start to receive messages, the messages that come from a vaster being, a being that is much greater, unlimited. And that greater being, it sends down its messages, and it also sends down a ray of light, an immense ray of light, a light of intuition, intuitive ray. So you can sit under that and receive this light, bringing you the light of higher consciousness. Martin, will you read?
Me?
Yes, please.
On summit mind are radiant altitudes, exposed to the luster of infinity, outskirts and dependencies of the house of truth, upraised states of mind and measureless.
Yeah.
There man can visit, but there he cannot live.
Yes. So, on summit mind, right up on the higher levels of mind, there are altitudes. This word means heights, that are full of light, radiant, shining. And they are receiving from above, like mountain peaks, they are receiving the luster of infinity, the shining light of infinity. And those altitudes, those radiant altitudes, he says, are outskirts and dependencies of the house of truth. Supermind is the house of truth, no? But these are not that house, but they are outskirts, they are around the edges, and they are dependencies. They belong to that house of truth. They are connected to it. They are upraised. They are like vast estates of mind, measureless, very wide expanses. There man can visit, but there he cannot live. We haven't yet developed those higher centers that would enable us to be able to live in those high states of consciousness. Now,
they are very bright, luminous. So we are always living in ignorance and darkness.
yes, and that's what Sri Aurobindo said, that once you break through these borders on summit mind, then actually you are already in the gnosis. You're not living in ignorance and a mixture of ignorance, knowledge. You're not dominated by the inconscience anymore. You've entered into these steps of self-revealing knowledge. So he's going to describe the four one by one. First of all, he speaks about a cosmic thought. Bhavana.
A cosmic thought spreads out its vastitudes. Its smallest parts are here philosophy, challenging with a detailed immensity, each figuring an omniscient scheme of things.
So that's the first one. A cosmic thought, a universal mind, spreads out its vastitudes, its immense spaces. And the smallest parts of that realm express themselves here as philosophies. Powerful philosophies, challenging philosophies, challenging because of their detailed immensity. So when I read these lines, I think about the Life Divine, Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, which is challenging in its detailed immensity. We can't hold it all in our mind. So, but there are other vast philosophies like that. So each of these different philosophies figures, they are expressions of an omniscient scheme of things. A scheme of things which is based on all knowledge. So that's the first step. Then the next one, Narendra.
But higher still, and flying the ascending light, there are vast of vision and eternal suns, oceans of an immortal luminescence, as flame hills assaulting heaven with their peaks. Their dwelling all becomes a blaze of sight. A burning head of vision leads the mind. Thought trails behind it, its long comet tail. The heart glows and illuminate and sear, and sense is kindled into identity.
Yes. So this seems to be a realm of powerful, glorious vision. There are vasts of vision, eternal suns, eternal lights of consciousness and energy and power. Oceans, unlimited oceans of an immortal luminousness. Hills that look like flames. Sometimes at sunset, if the setting sun lights up the high mountain peaks, they look as if they're made of fire. Flame hills, assaulting as if they're attacking heaven with their peaks. They are so high. So if one remains there, everything becomes a blaze of sight. The light is so intense. So it's as if the mind is being led. Almost the picture is like a comet. The comet goes, the head goes, and then there's the long tail behind. So a burning head of vision leads the mind, and thought trails behind it, its long comet tail. It's that shining brilliance that leads the mind, and then this gets expressed in thoughts, which the further away they are from the burning head of vision, the less bright they are. And that brightness comes into the heart also. The heart glows with warmth and light. It's as if it develops its own power of knowledge. It becomes a seer, an illuminate, one who has the higher knowledge. And sense, all the senses are as if set on fire, as if they're part of this one burning fire. Sense is kindled. To kindle means to light a fire. Everything takes fire and becomes one with all that it sees. Suresh.
The highest flight climbs to the deepest view in a wide opening of its native sky. Intuitions, lightnings range in a bright path, hunting all hidden truths out of their layers. Its
fiery
edge of seeing absolute caves into black unknown retreats of self, plumage of sky, recesses of the brain, lights of the acute chambers of the heart. Its spare point is
ictus
of discovery, processed on the cover of name, the screen of from streets where the secret soul of all that is.
So this is about intuition, about the realm of intuition. Intuition is the power that allows us to see into things directly. So he describes its action as like the action of a flash of lightning. But there's not only one flash of lightning, there's many flashes of lightning. And they go together like a pack of hunting dogs. Intuitions, lightnings, they roam around in a bright pack, hunting all hidden truths out of their lairs, as if the truths are hiding like animals. An animal's lair, it's the secret, safe place where it goes to hide. And a pack of wolves or hunting dogs, they will sniff out those hiding places. So the action of intuition, it is something like that. And this is the power that the ancient Vedic rishis used. And there's this famous story about how they discovered the cows, the rays of light belonging to the sun, which have been stolen by the powers of darkness and hidden, closed up in a deep cave. And the rishis know they must be hidden somewhere. How will they find them? And it's the goddess of intuition, Sarama, who sniffs them out, finds them. And then they can't just get them out like that. They have to ask for the help from Lord Indra, the king of mind. And he uses the power of the word to break open that cave and release the cows of light. It's interesting that this is a Vedic myth, a Vedic story, an image story, but we find it also in other cultures. We find very similar stories in the ancient Greek mythology and in Japanese mythology. they also have a story about the sun being hidden in a cave and how we have to entice her to come out. And our friend Jean-Yves has given a lecture here where he very beautifully revealed the significance of this story. That it's as if this cave, this is our subconscious, and all the divine possibilities and knowledge are there. They've been hidden there by the darker powers of the lower nature, and they have to be set free and brought out. And when the cows of light emerge, then the rivers of energy, the heavenly rain pours down. First comes the light, and then comes all the dynamic powers of energy. And this same image he found in the mythology of the Middle East, in Mesopotamia, and in Egypt. So it's very, very interesting. Perhaps this was an ancient insight and story that was shared by many cultures in the early years of human history. So here, Sri Aurobindo is speaking about that power of intuition. Yes.
There's a speech between two people, and one of them says, I asked him to do this, and the other says, but I thought I should do this way. He's saying like that. And the first guy says, I never asked you to think. So, is this possible in our world?
Not to think.
Yeah.
Well, thought is the power that human beings represent. We are mental beings, and our highest power of thought is the pure reason. So what Sri Aurobindo tells us is that in order to help the evolution forward, we will have to go beyond reason. But Mother warns us, she said, until you've really developed the power of intuition so that you can rely on it, the way that you can rely on your reason, please don't give up the reason. Don't do it. Otherwise you will become unreasonable. You will become irrational. And that's not wished for at all. So these developments, they have to happen in human beings in the future, but we shouldn't be in too much of a hurry to give up the God-given light of reason. So let's go on with this sentence. So it's these lightnings of intuition. They are roaming around in a bright pack, hunting all hidden truths out of their hiding places. No? So it is the fiery edge of intuition. It's like an absolute sight. And that, like a flash of lightning, it cleaves, it cuts like a knife blade into locked, unknown retreats of self. That might be like this dark cave that we have inside us, our subconscious, our inconscious. There's all kinds of things hidden there. That light of intuition can cut in and find what is there. And when it gets there, or maybe in a different movement, it rummages. Do you know what is rummaging? When you've got a lot of jumble and you know there must be something good there, you rummage. You find your way through all that. No? So here it is that the intuition is rummaging through the sky recesses of the brain. The sky represents the mind. No? So there are hidden areas of the mind. And that lightning also lights up the hidden chambers of the heart. And when it comes like that, a flash, it's like a spear with a sharp point. And that sharp point presses to open things up. He speaks about its spear point, ictus. And ictus is, how to explain this? It's actually a mark in writing which shows you where the stress, where the pressure is to be put. No? So Sri Aurobindo uses it as a symbol for this spear point of knowledge which presses until something opens up, something gets discovered. That spear point, that pointing point gets pressed on the cover of name. We give names to things. Those are labels. They don't tell us really what the thing is. They just label it. And similarly with form, we give names to forms. Names and forms go together. But intuition presses on the cover of this name, of this form, and reveals, it strips bare the secret soul of what is hidden within the name and the form. This is the power of direct knowledge. Leela.
Thought there has revelation sun-bright eyes. The word, a mighty and inspiring voice, enters truth in most cabin of privacy, and tears away the veil from God and life.
So this is the action of thought in that realm of intuition. There, thought has eyes that are bright like suns, no? That can reveal hidden secrets. And the power of the word is there like a mighty and inspiring voice which can enter into the very heart of the truth, enters truth's inmost cabin, as if truth hides in a little house somewhere, in its cabin of privacy. And the power of intuition tears away the veil that covers God and God in life. This way it can reveal the hidden secrets. So that's the level of intuition. And then we come to the overmind. Sergei.
That's gracious, the boundless greatness, finite philosophy expanse, the cosmic emperor of the whole mind, time's water state, order eternity, too vast for the experience of man's soul.
So that's the highest step. He says it's the last expanse of the boundless finite. That is the universe. The universe is finite, but there's no end to it. No? Sri Aurobindo uses this phrase, boundless finite, and I think that Einstein has used the same expression for our universe. It's as if, it's finite, it's not infinite, and yet it's boundless. We can't find the end of it. And of course, when Sri Aurobindo is speaking about the universe, the cosmos, he's not speaking only about the material universe. He's speaking about the universe of all the planes of existence. So He says the last expanse is the cosmic empire of the overmind. And he says that is like a buffer state. A buffer state. Now I have to tell you some history. I suppose about 150 years ago, the Russian Empire was expanding and the British Empire was expanding, and they didn't want to come into conflict. So they left the Afghan states, these difficult areas north of the western Himalayas. They kept them as a buffer state so that they didn't have to have borders with each other. So here he's saying a buffer state between the universe and eternity, the transcendent realm. This is the overmind, yes. And this overmind is too vast for the experience of man's soul. And now he's going to describe the overmind. Ganga Lakshmi.
All fear gathers beneath one golden sky. Suppose the built the cosmos station play in its house of infinite possibility. Each god of them builds his own nature's world. Ideas are phalanx, like a group of sun, each marshalling his company of grace.
Yes. So this is a brief, compressed description of overmind. So there, everything is gathered beneath one golden sky, full of light and truth. And in this realm, the powers that build the cosmos, the gods, take their stations. Each one has his place there. But altogether the overmind is a house of infinite possibility. But each of them has his place there. And from there, each god builds his own world, the world according to his nature. There's a lot of philosophy behind this, which we will not go into now. There in that world, ideas, creative concepts, are phalanxed like a group of suns. A phalanx was a division in the Roman army. So he gives the image of a group of suns. Each sun has command of all his own rays of light. And if there's a group of suns, then each of them they are together in a phalanx, in a group, but they are each of them controlling their own kind of light. They build their own world according to their own kind of light and power. Each of those ideas are marshalling, each of them their own company of rays. And that's a kind of creative power of each of the cosmic powers. Kamala.
Large crowds and master sized by one regard. All time is one body. Space a single look. There is the Godhead's universal gaze, and there the boundaries of immortal mind. The line that parts and joins the
hemispheres.
Closing on the level of the gods, fencing eternity from the toil of time.
Yes. So this is continuing the idea, the description of the overmind realm. So there thought crowds in masses. There's this incredible variety and largeness, but it's all seized by one regard. And all time is seen as a whole, past, present, and future. All space is a single look. So there is the universal gaze of the Godhead, the cosmic spirit. And that's where mind comes to its end. There are the boundaries of immortal mind. So the ancient tradition speaks of a line that divides the hemispheres. We can say that our equator is a line like that. There's the northern hemisphere and there's the southern hemisphere. But the way that these ancient teachers seem to have seen it is that there's a line which divides the lower hemisphere, that is the universe as we know it, from the higher hemisphere, which is completely different. So we've come to that line that it separates, but it also joins the hemispheres. It's where they come together. So that line, that's where it closes in on the labors of the gods, the cosmic powers working in the universe. And it's fencing, it's giving a kind of protective boundary, keep separating eternity from the toil of time, all the effort that goes on here in this material universe. So of course the next step is supermind, but we will keep that for next week. Okay. So let's read these mantric lines together and see whether some of this power and light and illumination can come to us, light up our minds and our hearts.
But these are touches and high moments lived. Fragments of truth supreme have lit his soul, reflections of the sun in waters still. A few have dared the last supreme ascent and break through borders of blinding light above, and feel a breath around of mightier air. Receive a vaster being's messages, and bathe in its immense, intuitive ray. On summit mind, our radiant altitudes, exposed to the luster of infinity, outskirts and dependencies of the house of truth, upraised estates of mind and measureless. There man can visit, but there he cannot live. A cosmic thought spreads out its vastitudes. Its smallest parts are here philosophies challenging with their detailed immensity, each figuring an omniscient scheme of things. But higher still can climb the ascending light. There are vasts of vision and eternal suns, oceans of an immortal luminousness, flame hills assaulting heaven with their peaks. Their dwelling all becomes a blaze of sight. A burning head of vision leads the mind. Thought trails behind it its long comet tail. The heart glows, an illuminate and seer, and sense is kindled into identity. A highest flight climbs to a deepest view. In a wide opening of its native sky, intuition's lightnings range in a bright pack, hunting all hidden truths out of their lairs. Its fiery edge of seeing absolute cleaves into locked unknown retreats of self, rummages the sky recesses of the brain, lights up the occult chambers of the heart. Its spear point ictus of discovery, pressed on the cover of name, the screen of form, strips bare the secret soul of all that is. Thought there has revelation's sun-bright eyes. The word, a mighty and inspiring voice, enters truth's inmost cabin of privacy and tears away the veil from God and life. Then stretches the boundless finite's last expanse, the cosmic empire of the overmind, time's buffer state bordering eternity, too vast for the experience of man's soul. All here gathers beneath one golden sky. The powers that build the cosmos station take in its house of infinite possibility. Each god from there builds his own nature's world. Ideas are phalanxed like a group of suns, each marshalling his company of rays. Thought crowds in masses, seized by one regard. All time is one body, space a single look. There is the Godhead's universal gaze, and there the boundaries of immortal mind. The line that parts and joins the hemispheres closes in on the labour of the gods, fencing eternity from the toil of time.